The lecture hall on Vera Prime Station was full. Students from many species sat in rows. Some had feathers, some had scales, some floated in gas pods. All were quiet. They had come to hear Zorak Vren speak. He was an old Krell veteran. His black shell showed many cracks. One eye glowed weaker than the other. He had fought humans in the border wars. He had lived through it. Few did. Zorak stood at the front. He clicked his mandibles to start. I was young then, he said, full of pride. The Dominion told us humans were soft. No claws, no armor, easy prey. We believed it. We paid for that belief. He turned on the hollow projector. A frozen image appeared. A human soldier ran through snow. His armor was torn. His face was hidden by a broken helmet. He held a rifle high. This is Sergeant Daniel Hayes, Zorak said. 24 years old, from a place called Ohio, on Earth. He led a small platoon on Frosthaven, Ice World, cold that freezes blood in your veins. We landed with 3 full companies. We had heavy walkers, plasma lances, numbers on our side. The holo moved. Krell drop pods crashed into the snow. Troops marched out in tight lines. They advanced toward human trenches. Zorak's voice grew low. We thought they would hide, or run. They waited, silent, until we were close enough to see their eyes. The image showed the first shots. Human rifles cracked, not wildfire, careful shots. Each one hit a weak spot, a knee joint, a neck seal. Krell soldiers dropped. The line slowed. Daniel Hayes stood up. He shouted something. His squad stood with him. They charged forward through the blizzard. Zorak clicked sadly. We laughed at first. Charging into plasma fire? Suicide. But they kept coming. A human took a lance through the chest. He fell. Another stepped over him and kept shooting. They reached our lines. Hand to hand, knives against claws, fists against armor. The holo showed close fighting. Daniel wrestled a Krell soldier. He drove a blade into the joint under the arm. The alien fell. Daniel took the fallen plasma lance. He turned it on the next wave. He fired until the power cell died. Zorak paused the image. Daniel Hayes killed 32 Krell that day. He died when a railgun round hit him. We never found all of him. The ice took what was left. The students sat still. No one moved. Zorak changed the scene. A desert city burned under twin suns. Red Mesa. Corporal Laura Bennett, he said. Sniper. 29. From California. We took the city in one day. We thought the fight was done. Then shots came from high places. One shot. One dead officer. Always officers. Always clean kills. He showed a still image, a small figure on a rooftop, rifle steady, scope glinting. She stayed in position for 3 days. No food, no water, no rest. She killed them too. 47 confirmed kills, mostly leaders. When we finally reached her, she was dead. Rifles still aimed, fingers still on the trigger. A young Vorsai student raised a hand. Did she leave a message? Zorak shook his head. No words, just her work. She held a whole battalion in place, alone. He switched to another image. A ruined street. A human medic in white and red ran through fire. She dragged a wounded soldier behind her. Rachel Brooks, medic, 31. She pulled 5 of her own people to safety. Plasma burned the air around her. She did not stop. Then she saw a Krell soldier fall near her line. He was hurt, bleeding out. She went back for him. The holo showed her lifting the heavy alien. She carried him to cover. She patched his wounds while bullets flew. She saved him, Zorak said. An enemy. Why? In her last recording we found, she said, he was hurt. That is enough. She died later under falling concrete, still trying to help. The room stayed quiet. Zorak looked at them all. Humans do not fight the way we do. We fight for territory, for resources, for honor. They fight for tomorrow, for the person next to them, for the idea of home. That makes them hard to break. He showed one more scene. A human child, maybe 10 years old, threw rocks at a Krell tank. The tank stopped. The child kept throwing until his mother pulled him away. Behind them, adults carried wounded to safety. They use everything, Zorak said. Children, old people, tools, rocks, their own bodies. When a ship loses power, they ram ours. When ammo runs out, they charge. When hope is gone, they find more. He turned off the holo. I fought them for 7 years. I lost brothers, I lost friends. I lost faith in easy victories. They were not stronger. They were not faster. But they had something we did not expect. He stepped closer to the front row. They refused to quit. When we thought the line was broken, they rebuilt it. When we thought they were finished, they started again. That is what makes them terrifying. A Lyrath student spoke up. Did you ever win against them? Zorak's eye flickered. We took ground. We burned cities. We killed many. But win? No. We never truly won. We only made them angry. And angry humans are the worst enemy a soldier can face. He looked around the hall one last time. I tell these stories not to scare you. I tell them to warn you. Humans remember. They learn. They come back. If the day ever comes when they feel truly cornered, when they believe there is nothing left to lose, then pray they remember mercy. Because they have shown us little of it when we pushed too far. The lecture ended. Students left slowly. Some whispered. Some stayed silent. Zorak stayed behind. He stared at the dark hollow screen. He whispered to the empty room. Stay away from them. Stay far away. But in his heart, he knew the truth. Some wars do not end. Zorak Vren clicked his mandibles again. The students in the lecture hall had not moved. They waited for more. The old Krell veteran paced slowly in front of the dark hollow screen. His cracked shell caught the light. I will tell you about the Battle of Iron Ridge, he said. A mining moon, barren rock, no air, no water, only tunnels and dust. We wanted the rare metals inside. Humans were already there. They had built a small outpost, 50 soldiers, 200 civilians, engineers, miners, families. He turned the holo back on. The image showed a gray moon with deep craters. Krell landing craft touched down. Troops marched out in heavy suits. They carried mining drills turned into weapons. We dropped in force, Zorak continued. 10 companies, walkers, breaching charges. We thought we would clear the tunnels in one shift. We were wrong again. The holo shifted inside a tunnel. Narrow passages, low ceiling, dim emergency lights. Human defenders waited at every bend. They used the rock itself. They set charges in the walls. When Krell troops advanced, the humans blew sections behind them. Tunnels collapsed. Krell soldiers were trapped or crushed. Private Kevin Ruiz led one of those traps. He was 25, from Texas, short, quiet, good with explosives. He wired the ceiling with mining charges. When the first Krell squad entered the passage, he waited. He let them get deep inside. Then he triggered the blast. Dust filled the screen. Rocks fell. Screams echoed through the comms. When the dust cleared, only broken armor remained. Zorak's voice grew quieter. Kevin Ruiz did not stop there. He moved to the next tunnel, then the next. He collapsed 6 passages. He trapped 400 of us. We had to dig our own people out. It took days. Many died waiting. The image changed to a wider view. Human civilians helped too. They carried supplies. They loaded weapons. Old men and women stood guard with rifles. Children ran messages through small vents. Zorak pointed at one figure. That child, 9 years old, Name was Amy Torres. She carried water to the fighters. When a soldier fell, she dragged his rifle back to the line. She did not cry. She just kept moving. He paused. We captured her later. She looked at us and said, "You will not win. We do not know how to lose." 9 years old. She said that. The students shifted uncomfortably. Zorak continued. The commander on Iron Ridge was Captain Maria Gonzalez, 41, from New Mexico. She coordinated everything from a small command post deep inside. She refused every surrender demand. We sent messages. She sent back one word each time: no. The holo showed Maria in a dusty room. Maps on the walls. Screens flickering. She spoke into a comm unit. Hold the east tunnel. Use the last charges. We buy time for the evac shuttles. She turned to a wounded soldier. You get out. That is an order. The soldier shook his head. I stay with you, Captain. Maria did not argue. She just nodded. Zorak's eye dimmed. She stayed until the last shuttle left. Then she rigged the command post to blow. When we breached the final door, she triggered it. The explosion collapsed the entire level. She took her command team with her, and 200 Krell, who were too close. He let the silence grow. That was not the end. The civilians had escaped, but we found messages carved into the rock. Names, dates. One line repeated many times. We do not back down. Zorak turned off the holo again. I walked those tunnels after. I saw the blood. Human and Krell mixed. I saw the small toys left behind. A doll in the dust. A child's drawing on a wall. I wondered why they fought so hard for rock and metal. He looked at the students. They fought for each other, for the right to say they tried, for the chance their children would live free. That is what made them dangerous. Not their guns, not their ships, their refusal to see defeat as the end. A young Krell student spoke up. Did you hate them? Zorak clicked slowly. At first, yes. Later, respect, fear. They did not hate us. They just wanted us gone. When we pushed, they pushed back harder. When we took something, they took more of us with them. He stepped closer to the front. There is one more thing I must tell you. Something we learned too late. He activated a final image. A human soldier stood alone on a hill. Armor gone, rifle empty. He held a knife in one hand. Behind him, Krell troops advanced. He did not run. He waited. This soldier had no name left in our records. He was the last defender on a small outpost. We had killed everyone else. He stood there anyway. The image zoomed in. The human's face was calm. No fear. Only certainty. He charged us, Zorak said. 1 man against a platoon. He killed 4 before they cut him down. 4, with a knife. After that, we burned the outpost, but we never forgot his face. Zorak shut down the projector completely. I tell you these stories so you understand. Humans are not monsters. They are not gods. They are people, ordinary people, but when cornered, when they see no other way, they become something else. He looked around the hall. If you ever face them, remember this. They do not fight to win. They fight so others can live. That makes every battle personal. That makes every death a promise kept. He clicked his mandibles once more. The wars ended. Borders were drawn. Peace came. But I still wake at night seeing those faces. Daniel, Laura, Rachel, Kevin, Maria, Amy, the nameless one on the hill. He turned to leave. Do not mistake their kindness for weakness. Do not mistake their mercy for surrender. Because if the day comes when they believe mercy is no longer possible, he stopped at the door. You will learn what I learned. He walked out. The students sat in silence for a long time. No one spoke. They just stared at the dark screen. And somewhere in the quiet, the old veteran's words echoed. Humans do not know how to lose. They only know how to keep going. Zorak Vren returned to the front of the lecture hall after a short break. The students had not left their seats. Some took notes on datapads. Others stared at the blank holoscreen as if the images were still there. The old Krell veteran clicked his mandibles once to regain attention. "I have told you about soldiers and snipers and medics," he said. "Now I tell you about a ship. The human frigate Liberty Bell. Small, old. Crew of 120. They met our battle group near the gas giant Calyx. We had 6 heavy cruisers. They had 1 damaged ship." He turned on the holo again. The image showed a gray human vessel drifting near swirling clouds. Its hull was patched in many places. One engine flickered weakly. We thought it was easy prey. We sent boarding teams. We expected surrender. Instead, they opened fire with everything left. Point defense guns, missiles, even their mining lasers. The holo shifted to show Krell boarding pods closing in. Human turrets tracked them. Small explosions bloomed across space. Pods broke apart. Zorak continued. Their captain was John Carter, 42 years old, from Colorado. He spoke on open channel. "This is Liberty Bell. We will not board. We will not surrender. Come if you want it." The image showed the human ship turn. It accelerated toward the lead Krell cruiser. Engines flared bright. "They rammed us," Zorak said. "Not once, twice. First pass took out our forward shields. Second pass hit the bridge section. Their bow crumpled. Their ship broke in half. But the impact crippled our cruiser. It drifted dead." He paused. After the collision, survivors from Liberty Bell launched escape pods. Some pods carried wounded. Some carried nothing but messages. One pod reached our ship. Inside was a single human. Ensign Amy Torres, 23. She had set the ramming course herself. She lived long enough to speak. The holo showed a young woman in a damaged suit. Blood on her face. She looked straight at the camera. "We paid the price," she said. "You will too if you keep coming." She died minutes later. Zorak's voice grew heavy. That one ship delayed our group for 3 days. 3 days we spent recovering. 3 days the human reinforcements used to arrive. Because of Liberty Bell, we lost the system. He changed the scene. "Now I tell you about the ground battle on Greenhaven. Jungle world, thick vines, rain every hour. We landed to take the main settlement. Humans had turned the forest into a trap. The holo showed tall trees. Human soldiers moved between them. They wore green camouflage. They carried rifles and machetes. Lieutenant Carlos Mendoza commanded the defense. 30, from Arizona. He knew the jungle. He used it. His people dug pits with spikes. They strung wires that triggered explosives. They poisoned water sources we might use. Zorak pointed at a small squad. They waited days. No fire. No noise. When we passed, they struck from behind. One shot, then gone into the trees. We lost patrols. We lost scouts. We lost sleep. The image showed a Krell soldier step on a hidden wire. A blast threw him back. Vines caught fire. Humans appeared from nowhere. They fired. They disappeared again. Carlos Mendoza was captured once, Zorak said. We interrogated him. He smiled. He said, "You think you have me, but my people are still out there." That night his squad attacked the camp. They freed him. They killed the guards. They left us with nothing but bodies. Zorak clicked slowly. We burned sections of the forest to flush them out. We used chemicals. We used fire. They came back through the smoke. Blackened faces, burned hands, still fighting. He showed one final image. A lone human standing on a hill after the battle. The jungle around him was ash. He held a rifle with no ammo. He looked at the Krell lines. That was Carlos, Zorak said. He stood there until the end. We took the settlement, but we paid in blood for every meter. The holo faded. Zorak looked at the students. There is one story I tell last, the one that still wakes me at night. He activated a new image, a dark space station, human markings on the hull. The name read Endurance. This was a research outpost. No soldiers, only scientists. 50 people. We came to take their data. They refused to open the doors. The image showed Krell troops cutting through the outer hull. Inside, Dr. Laura Bennett led them. She was not a fighter. She was a biologist. 55, from Oregon. She told her people, if they want the data, they take it over our bodies. Zorak's eye dimmed. They fought with tools, wrenches, scalpels, acid from the labs. They vented atmosphere in corridors. They used every trick. When we reached the core lab, Dr. Bennett stood alone. She held a vial. She said, "This is a virus we made for study. If you come closer, I break it." The holo showed her face, calm, determined. We stopped, we talked. She negotiated. She gave us empty drives. She kept the real data. She let us leave with nothing useful. Then she destroyed the station. Self-destruct. No survivors. Zorak shut off the projector. She chose death over surrender. She chose her people's future over her own life. That is what humans do. He stepped back. I have seen many battles, many species, none like them. They do not seek death. They accept it when it comes for something bigger. He looked around the hall. If you meet humans one day, remember these names. Daniel Hayes, Laura Bennett, Rachel Brooks, Kevin Ruiz, Maria Gonzalez, Amy Torres, John Carter, Carlos Mendoza, the child who threw rocks, the medic who saved an enemy, the scientist who burned her work. He clicked once more. Do not underestimate them. Do not push them to the edge, because at the edge, they do not fall. They jump, and they take you with them. The lecture ended. The students rose slowly. No one spoke loudly. They filed out with quiet steps. Zorak stayed at the empty screen. He whispered to the dark, "Stay peaceful, humans. Stay far." But in his cracked shell, he knew, peace is fragile. Zorak Vren stood silent for a moment after the last story. The lecture hall lights felt colder. The students waited without breathing loudly. The old Krell veteran clicked his mandibles slowly, as if deciding which memory to share next. I have one more story, he said. The one that changed how we thought about humans forever. The Siege of Echo Station. A listening post on the edge of neutral space, small, only 80 humans, scientists, technicians, a few guards, no heavy weapons. We wanted the data they collected on our movements. We sent a full assault fleet. We thought it would take one cycle. He turned on the holo. The image showed a gray orbital station shaped like a wheel. It spun slowly against black space. Krell cruisers surrounded it. Boarding tubes extended like needles. We cut through the outer hull in minutes, Zorak continued. We expected panic, surrender. Instead, the humans sealed every section. They fought in corridors with improvised weapons, fire axes, welding torches, broken pipes. They used the station itself against us. The holo moved inside. Narrow halls, dim red emergency lights. Human defenders waited behind bulkheads. When Krell troops advanced, the humans triggered traps. Steam vents opened. Hot gas burned exposed joints. Electrical panels exploded. Wires whipped like snakes. A young human named Private Sam Carter led one group. 22 years old, from Florida. He had no armor, only a work suit. He carried a heavy wrench. He blocked a corridor alone, Zorak said. 3 Krell soldiers came at him. He swung the wrench, broke the first one's mandible, knocked the second down. The third shot him in the chest. He fell. Then he got up again. He kept swinging until they cut him down. He bought time for his team to escape with the data core. Zorak's voice dropped lower. We captured the core later. It was empty. They sent the real data out in a small probe before we breached. The probe reached human space. We never recovered it. The image shifted to the central hub, a large room with control panels. A human woman stood in the middle. Dr. Olivia Grant, 48, from Nebraska, lead researcher. She was the last one, Zorak said. When we reached her, she had rigged the reactor. She held a dead man switch. She said, "You can have the station. You cannot have the knowledge." The holo showed her face, calm, no fear, only resolve. She triggered the overload. The station broke apart. We lost 2 cruisers in the blast, 300 soldiers. The humans lost everything, but they kept their secrets. Zorak paused the image on her face. Olivia Grant had a family, a husband, 2 children. She knew she would never see them again. She chose the data over her life because she believed it mattered more. He looked at the students. That is the terrifying part. Humans fight for ideas, for tomorrow, for people they will never meet. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation when the cause is right. He changed to a final scene. After the battle, Krell troops searched the wreckage. They found a small recording device floating among the debris. It was a message from Olivia. The audio played. Her voice was steady. "If you hear this, the station is gone. The data is safe. Tell my family I love them. Tell the others we tried. That is enough." The recording ended. Zorak shut off the holo. "I kept that message," he said. "I listen to it sometimes, not to remember victory, to remember defeat. Real defeat. The kind that stays inside you." A young Lyrath student raised a tentacle. "Did you ever meet humans after the war?" Zorak clicked once. Once, years later, on a neutral station. A human merchant. Ordinary. Selling parts. I asked if he fought. He said yes. He showed me a scar on his arm. From Frosthaven. He smiled. He said, "We all have scars. Some show, some do not." Then he walked away. Zorak looked around the hall. They do not boast. They do not threaten. They simply live. But if you push them again, if you take something they value, they remember every name, every face, every debt. He stepped back. I tell these stories so you understand one thing. Humans are not invincible. They bleed, they die, they break. But they do not stay broken. They rebuild, they return, they keep going long after others would stop. He clicked his mandibles for the last time. The war ended. Borders hold. Peace exists. But peace is thin. It rests on the knowledge that somewhere out there are humans who remember, who learn, who wait. He turned toward the door. If the day comes when they feel the old wounds open again, do not be the ones who open them. He walked out slowly. The students remained seated. No one stood right away. They looked at the dark screen. They thought about the faces they had seen. Daniel Hayes, charging through snow. Laura Bennett on her rooftop. Rachel Brooks saving an enemy. Kevin Ruiz collapsing tunnels. Maria Gonzalez blowing her command post. Amy Torres ramming a cruiser. Carlos Mendoza smiling in captivity. Sam Carter swinging a wrench. Olivia Grant holding a dead man switch. Each face calm in the end. Each voice steady. The hall lights dimmed. Outside the door, Zorak Vren stopped. He touched the crack in his shell. He whispered to himself, "Stay peaceful, humans. Please stay peaceful." But in the quiet of the empty corridor, he knew the truth. Some stories do not end with peace. They end with waiting. And humans are very good at waiting. Zorak Vren did not sit during his lectures. He stood the whole time. His legs were strong from years on battlefields. But now, at the end of his last talk, he felt old. The lecture hall lights were low. Most students had left. Only a few remained. They sat in the front rows. They wanted more. Zorak looked at them. He clicked his mandibles slowly. I have told you many names, he said, many faces, many deaths, but there is one last thing I must share. Something that happened after the wars ended. Something that still haunts me. He turned on the holo one final time. No battle scene appeared, no explosions, no blood, just a quiet meeting room on a neutral station, soft lights, a long table, 2 chairs. One chair held a human, a man in simple clothes, gray hair, calm eyes. The other chair held Zorak himself, younger then, still healing from old wounds. This was 10 years after the last shot, Zorak explained. A peace conference, small, private, no cameras, no crowds, just 2 old soldiers, 1 Krell, 1 human. The holo showed them sitting across from each other, no guards, no weapons. The human was Colonel Daniel Hayes's older brother. His name was Robert Hayes, 52 years old, from the same town in Ohio. He had fought too, not on Frosthaven, on other fronts. He lost his brother there. He came to talk, not to accuse, not to demand, just to talk. Zorak's voice became very quiet. He asked me one question. Did my brother suffer? The holo showed Robert's face, steady, no anger, only a need to know. I told him the truth. He fought hard. He died fast. A clean shot. No long pain. Robert nodded once. He looked down at the table for a moment. Then he looked up again. Thank you, he said. That helps. Zorak paused the image. I expected hate, he continued. I expected blame. Instead, he asked about my wounds. He asked how many brothers I lost. He did not interrupt. When I finished, he stood. He offered his hand, not as a trick, as respect. The holo moved. Robert extended his hand. Zorak took it. 2 soldiers, 2 enemies. 1 moment of quiet understanding. I shook his hand, Zorak said. I felt his grip, strong, steady, no tremble. He said, we both paid enough. Let it end here. Then he left. Zorak shut off the holo. That handshake stayed with me, longer than any battle, longer than any scar, because in that moment I understood. Humans do not fight because they love war. They fight because they must. When the must ends, they stop. They heal, they remember. But they do not seek revenge for revenge's sake. He looked at the few students left. They forgive when forgiveness is earned. They remember debts, good ones and bad ones, and they pay them, all of them. He clicked once more. I tell you this last story so you know the full truth. Humans are terrifying in war. Yes, they charge when others run. They hold when others break. They die standing. But outside war, they can be kind. They can listen. They can shake hands with the ones who killed their kin. He stepped forward. That is what scares me most. Not their rage, their control. They choose when to fight. They choose when to stop. And when they choose to fight again, it will not be for sport. It will be for something final. Zorak looked around the empty hall. I have no more stories. Only this warning. Respect them. Not because they are strong. Because they are human. Because they remember everything. Because they never truly forget a face, a name, a promise, a wound. He turned toward the door. If peace holds, thank them. If peace breaks, pray you are far away. He walked out slowly. His steps echoed in the quiet. The last students rose. They left without words. Outside the hall, Zorak stopped. He touched the crack over his heart, the place where a human bullet had almost ended him long ago. He looked up at the stars through a viewport. Stay peaceful, he whispered. Please stay peaceful. But deep inside he knew. Humans do not start wars lightly. When they end them completely. And if they ever begin one again, the galaxy would learn what true terror means. Not from claws or plasma. From quiet people who refuse to break. From ordinary faces that become unbreakable. From stories that never really end. They only wait. Zorak turned away from the stars. He walked down the empty corridor. His shadows stretched long behind him. And somewhere far away, on a small blue world, people lived normal lives. They worked, they laughed, they raised children, they remembered, and they waited.